from coast to coast and around the world. You have the power to prosper. Welcome to The Power to Prosper with your host, Dr. H. Michael Chitwood. Dr. H. Michael Chitwood is one of the influential speakers of our time.
God is opening doors for those who can see. My question to you is, can you really see what God has for you?
Broadcasting live around the world, Dr. H. Michael Chitwood is a powerful, dynamic speaker who has helped thousands prosper according to God's Word.
You are perfect for your purpose. See, no one can take your place and no one can do what you're called to do. There is no substitute for you. You have been pre-planned for purpose.
Discover how you can prosper in every area of your life: health, finances, family, your job, your faith, and your entire life. Get ready for transformative insights, life-changing principles, and practical wisdom to unlock your full potential.
God loves to use ordinary people to do extraordinary things in this world.
Join us now and experience the power of prosperity with Dr. H. Michael Chitwood. Broadcasting live, this is The Power to Prosper.
Well, hello everybody. This is Dr. H. Michael Chitwood, and we're glad that you're with us today on the Power to Prosper show. This is going to be an incredible, exciting show. We've got some of the greatest guests on this show. Ashley, what do you think about today?
I am so excited. Can I just say a quick shout out to the audience really quick?
Yeah, sure.
I mean, look how great they look. They're so amazing. Yes, I'm very excited about our segments today. We're going to be talking a lot about mental health, which is something I'm very passionate about, and that when I was Miss Tennessee, I spoke about mental health a lot because it's something very personal to me. And we're also going to be talking about relationships and.
We have a great show. I think it's going to be something that's going to be I'll tell you this, I learned a lot backstage about this subject, and I really hate to admit it, but I really didn't know a lot about mental health and the problems of mental health.
Right, and a lot of people don't, but mental health issues affect 1 in 5 adults. So it is something that's really important to speak about. I know when I was 14 years old, I was diagnosed with a panic disorder, which is an anxiety disorder. And at the time, not that I'm that old or anything, but at the time, mental health wasn't something that was really talked about. And so I felt very alone. I didn't understand it. And it was really difficult for me to really come to terms with what was going on in my life. And so I'm so happy that this is something that's less taboo, and it's something more talked about openly and publicly, so that people that do experience that can really feel more comfortable and like they're not alone.
It sounds like that you have a lot of knowledge about this subject.
Unfortunately and fortunately, yes. But I'm very grateful I've been able to help a lot of other people with it. So. Well,
I want you to welcome an expert in this field, Dr. Calvin Tibbs. In this segment, we're going to be talking about some of the things that mental health is involved with, but I want to take a moment and introduce Dr. Tibbs to you. He is the pastor of Kingdom Dominion Church in Villa Rica, Georgia. And is that the first place they discovered gold?
Gold, and it's the home of Coca-Cola, and it's the home of gospel music.
Well, let me finish the bio. I guess I should have finished that before, but when I thought about gold, I heard that was the first place that they discovered gold.
Yes,
is that
sir.
right?
That's true.
He's the co-host of 2 daily radio broadcasts. That's incredible. Not only is he an incredible preacher and speaker, travels around the world, but he's also an author and a certified purpose coach. Wow, that's good. That's good. We have some questions for you today on mental health. And backstage, we were talking about how that I really didn't know a lot about this subject, but it's really a big subject throughout the United States and maybe the world, would you say?
Yes, absolutely.
So I have a question for you, and we have several questions for you because we're glad that you're here, by the way. What are some of the mental health remedies, I guess that would be the remedies that you have found to be most helpful when you come across this mental health problem?
Well, there are quite a few resources that are available, but just like it says mental health, you need mental health practices. So before you start popping pills, You really need to get in touch with the way you think. As you think in your heart, so is he. So as a certified purpose development coach, what we do is we help people to understand what we call the big 3 purpose questions. I'll go into those later, but when people understand their purpose, they understand how to think. When they don't understand their purpose, it becomes ambiguous.
Well, that's a pretty important way to describe mental health to some extent about what's going on. I mean, Ashley's been there before, and she's got experience in this because she talked about it when she was Miss Tennessee. She spoke, I guess, all over Tennessee, didn't you, when you were Miss Tennessee, about mental health?
Yeah.
Very passionate about it.
Yeah, and I think that, we all are pretty familiar with things like PTSD and how that happens. Obviously, a traumatic event happens. But Dr. Tibbs, can you please tell us a little bit about some of the lesser known causes of mental health issues?
A lot of things that happen in the womb, literally, is where it all starts. We have a grandbaby that's being formed right now in our oldest daughter's womb.
Congratulations.
Absolutely, she's beautiful. We've seen the pictures. And I'm aware, as is our daughter, that the atmosphere around her is already shaping what the child knows. Children don't come out speaking the native language that they're born in, but they do understand the language of emotion. And emotion is where mental health gets connected to the way a person processes. So when I said before about these 3 questions, if we don't ask, why are we here, then any situation can throw us. If we don't answer, what are we supposed to do, any situation can throw us. When we get to those 2, the third question is, how do I get better at what I'm doing while I am here? If I can answer that, I get ahead of the environment and not become a product of that environment.
Very interesting. Very interesting, to say the least. Well, let me ask you this question about mental health. Do you have any tips? Do you have any tips for our viewers, our audience, that may be having a challenge accessing mental health care? Is anything out there to help these people with this problem?
There is. You have 2 schools of thought. You have the Medicate Me Now school of thought, which is the one that I would not encourage first of all.
What is that Medicaid Me Now thought? What is that?
75% of America is on drugs, according to statistics. 75% of America. Here in this audience and here on this stage, I still take a blood pressure med like once every 4 days. I'm on meds. So if you look in this audience, you will find that probably 75% are taking some kind of prescription drug.
Really?
So, yes, sir. So medication by itself it doesn't fix anything, it just calms things down. So when you talk about mental health, you have to get to the root. You have to get to the core, because as a person thinks, well, the question is, how do they start thinking that way? In their mother's womb, alcoholism, abuse, anger, frustration. So they come out mad, not even knowing it. They're crying as little children, sometimes colic. Every spiritual disease is actually, every disease has a spiritual root. According to some doctors, there are 39 major categories of issues that involve the actual physical body. And Jesus took 39 stripes on the cross. So there is no coincidence in the process of how we feel, how we think, and how we act to the environment that raised us to do that.
That's amazing.
Well,
That's that's such a coincidence.
That's
I love that.
incredible, yeah.
I think that you brought that up. That's something that I'm sure a lot of people didn't even think about.
No.
So, thank you so much for being here with us and sharing
Thank you,
some
Thank
of
you.
your knowledge with us, so that we could educate ourselves a little bit more about this very important topic. Up next, Happy House, Happy Spouse.
Where did you get that
If you feel like a room without a roof.
I am so excited about our upcoming book entitled 40 Millionaire Success Strategies. We have used this our entire life to help people become millionaires and change their life so that they can have a better life and have the good life. I want to encourage you to pre-order this book now. It's entitled 40 Millionaire Success Strategies. And you know what? When you start reading this, it's going to motivate you and encourage you to change your life and to move to that new level that you've always wanted. You can be a millionaire. I believe that, and I know that because I believe in you. So get motivated right now and pre-order your copy at drchitwood.com. 40 Millionaire Success Strategies.
Well, the top 3 reasons in this next segment that leads to marriage problems. Finances is number 1, religious differences number 2, and intimacy, sexual incompatibility is number 3. We're going to talk a little bit about that for just a moment. I think that that's going to be something that's going to be very enlightening because this segment is called Happy House, Happy Spouse. How in the world did you come up with that? I've always heard happy wife, happy life, but I've never heard happy spouse, happy house. I guess it's true though.
It absolutely is true. And I think it's really unfair to men and husbands that are doing so much for their wives for everyone to just push this belief of happy wife, happy life. Men have feelings too, and they need to be cared with compassion. And I know my husband's out there like, yes. So yeah, happy house, happy spouse.
Well, those are the top 3 reasons there. Finance is number 1, religious differences, and sexual incompatibilities. Now, that's not in the order. We have found that the number 1 is finances, but number 2 is really about the sexual incompatibility of a husband and wife. And that's the reason why that finances is definitely number 1. When a couple has financial problems, it's been proven that most of the time they will wind up in some court case unless they get some type of help. So finance is number 1 in a marriage. What do you think?
Well, it really depends on what is happening at that time. Again, we talked about where the person was born, how they were raised. But when you talk about intimacy, it actually...
Well, we're talking about finances right now.
Oh, I'm sorry. Then the intimacy of finances, let's go to the finances.
Okay.
That's what he meant to say. That's what he meant to say.
That's what I meant to say. Finances put pressure on the security package of the woman. And I use that a lot in the context that one of the books I'm going to write very soon deals with what I think are 2 things that ladies want. And I like what you mentioned before about being sensitive to men because ladies love sensitivity. Financial insecurity it creates an issue of the person not being secure. And if a woman is not secure, that's a problem in the household. So until you fix the finances, you don't fix the security measures of what's going on inside of her mind. So as far as we're concerned, the guy doesn't have to make 6 figures, but just know that the house is not going to go into foreclosure every other month. Know that the meals are going to be provided for because she doesn't have that to be concerned with, because ladies love to incubate and produce. And if they produce stress, that's where that statement, happy life, happy wife, comes from.
So, question, should the lady trying to find a husband, should she always look for some man that doesn't have a job and no income?
Well, that's probably the worst thing she could do because there is a glory story element to this piece. The man is the glory of God and the woman is the glory of man. A woman won't carry the story of a man who does not understand the glory of his purpose.
All right, that answered that pretty good. Second question.
So what advice, Dr. Tibbs, could you give someone that may have married someone that doesn't have the same religious beliefs that they do?
Wow.
That's a challenge because the process should have begun before they said I do. So now they're in the I do.
But you know that never happens. When you fall in love, you don't care what religion they
You
got.
don't care.
You just want them
You just
to
want
be
'em.
your spouse. And you don't put them through some type of litmus test and ask them, you don't survey them and interview them. You just love them because you love them.
Well, you do that again because the person is in purposelessness. See, if they were in purpose, they would know, I need the kind of person that you are. But if you're out of purpose, you become a product of the environment, you make choices like the environment makes. She has this or he has that, and then you just say amen. We're supposed to be fitted together, and our compatibility is connected with our purpose. What you just mentioned about your husband, hallelujah, which is you know what he's here for. That's the reason why you're considering him. People who only join relationships to get from those relationships, they're not contributing very much because they didn't go there to contribute. They went there to take.
That's good. So let me ask you this. When I was growing up, there was always what we referred to as a mother in the church. And I don't know if you're familiar with that term, but the mother in the church was to watch and to guide and protect. And they always would come up with, the man would always be picked out and selected out by the mother of the church. And most of the time, they found out that they weren't even sexually compatible. What do you think?
I think that the era of doing that is pretty much over, although there are some nations in the East that still practice that, and it works out well
What
for
about
them.
here, though?
In America, it's probably not it's like an 8-track tape process. Today's technology has gone from 8-track tapes to cassette tapes to CDs. We're in a different era now.
Wow.
And because of the advent of social media, we're being trained what to think.
So let me ask you a question real quick before we go on this segment. If someone is having sexual and incompatibility problems, do you think there's any hope that they could use that, what do they call it, the blue pill? Would that help them at all?
No. What will help them is to first be in the right relationship. Because if you're not married, sex is designed for marriage.
All right, that answered that question. We're ready to go.
Let's move on. Up next, faith, family, and career.
All right, good.
Family. I got all my sisters with me.
On this segment, we're going to be talking about how to be purpose-driven with your faith, family, and career. I want to welcome back Dr. Shannon Cook, everybody.
Thank you. Glad to be here.
Dr. Cook, what are some things that have really impacted your faith, your family, and your career?
Well, first of all, it starts with our Creator. You know, every family should have a purpose and a vision. But that purpose comes from God because He's the manufacturer of our purpose. And when we get into our purpose as a family, we can release our potential. And when we release that potential, it'll take us into the God-given prosperity that is available.
That's a good answer.
Dr. Cook, you are in ministry. How do you properly balance being present in the ministry and also being present with your family?
That's very good.
Well, the word says in Proverbs, wisdom is the principal thing. See, if you get wisdom, wisdom is going to show you what to do, when to do it, how to do it, and wisdom will show you how to put in a strategy, a plan, a schedule. Because I tell you, just like my daughter, she plays soccer, she got piano lessons, then my wife has her things. So it takes wisdom to balance all of those things out.
Well, I agree with that, don't you?
Oh, absolutely.
But we've always heard in the church world that the preacher's real bride is the church because he spends a lot of time. He works there for his congregation and messages. So it's very difficult to balance that career, your family, and your church.
Yes.
So what do you think would be the answer for a pastor who really wants to put his wife first, but really he's putting the bride first, which is the church?
Once again, we go back to wisdom because God is the one that gave him the vision for the church, but he also gave him the vision for his family. And we believe that ministry starts at home. So when you prioritize your family, you can minister to your family, to your children, and take care of your home. Because Scripture says, if you don't take care of your home, how can you take care of the house of God?
So you're really saying that there's no way that you put your church before your wife and your daughter. Is that what you're telling us?
You can't put them before, can't put the church before your family. But what you do, get your family involved with the church, and you do it all together. So get everybody involved. So wherever you are, you're together.
That sounds the way out that everybody in America needs to start their own church if they're married, huh?
Oh, yeah.
Pull
Kill
your
two
wife
birds with
into
one
it.
stone. Just bring them to church. Not everybody's together. It makes sense.
What advice would you give a single mom who is trying to balance it all, working two or three jobs?
Well, a lot of singles need to understand that the church is a strong support system. They need to surround themselves with people that believe in them and that will help them. because being a single parent is a tough job. But when you have a support system, whether it's your family, maybe they call them their BFFs, they have to have that support system, maybe help babysit the kid.
Well, I know, but I'm sorry to interrupt you, but how do you do that for a single mother because she has no support for her 2 children? How does she balance her faith, her career, and her family? It's easy for you to say that they need a support system, but what is it?
Well,
what is BFO?
BFF, best friends, because they do have some good people in their lives that will help them if they will take advantage of it. But it starts with a mentality, because there are a lot of successful singles that, they are prosperous. They have the ability to go get it by themselves. But when they have children, there's another factor to that. Because
what about this? What about having that friend go to work for you at her job and you stay home with the family? How would that work? But give the mother the paycheck, but send the friend to the job to work. What do you think?
Those
Definitely ideal.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
But what you said about asking for help, I think that's really important, is that, so many single moms, if we're speaking about them in particular, they have so many things to think about. And women power, you want to be powerful, and it's hard to ask for help, but that's something that my mom always said, when it comes to children, it takes a village.
Yes.
You cannot do it on your own, and it really takes you to just ask for that help, because people are willing to help and they want to. It really just takes you not being so prideful and just being able to do that.
You know what I found? You don't have children yet.
No, I have 2 cats though. That are
2 what?
2 cats.
Cats.
They're very mischievous.
Okay. I believe that most women that are in that situation, I have found that they become somewhat very stubborn to ask for help.
Yes.
What do you think?
Yes, it's pride and stubbornness. But if they would just humble themselves and look around, some of the people in their lives that really love them and love their children will step in. I remember growing up, everybody in your neighborhood would help you.
Yes.
You could get corrected.
That was back then.
That was back
We
then,
need
but
to
the
get back
times
to
have
those
changed.
times. We need to get back to that.
Yes.
We're back. We're living in the real world these days where you really don't even know who can help and will help and trust them fully. Hey, listen, we're excited about Dr. Cook being with us on this
Dr.
segment.
Cook,
Thank you so much for being with us again.
here.
Thank you, sir.
Up next, we have Common Sense.
Wisdom Air, a best-selling book by Dr. Shannon C. Cook, will teach you how to obtain and live a limitless lifestyle. Wisdom is the key to being successful in life. Get your copy of Wisdom Air today for your love gift of only $20 or more at shannoncook.org.
All right, we are back, and we've had some people send in some questions, so let's get to the first one. Our first message comes from Ken from Idaho, and he says, my family tells me that I shouldn't quit my good-paying job with benefits to start my own company. I definitely have my own opinions about that, because that's what I did once upon a time. What do you guys think about that, though?
Well, I think that you can keep your job and do your business at the same time, because you still have to have an income stream coming in while the business builds. But I believe that if you can continue to work in your career and then work your business also, sooner or later, the business will start taking care of everything.
That's exactly right.
I was teaching a millionaire boot camp years ago, several thousand people there, and I actually had a person to come up and tell me that exact same question. And guess where that person worked? She worked at a company in Houston, Texas by the name of Enron. She went home on Friday night with a good 401k. She had a good paying job. And Monday morning, the place was padlocked, thrown into bankruptcy. She lost her 401k. So the question about should I quit my good paying job to start my own business, I think, again, you could do both, and you really should these days.
Yes,
Right.
sir. And that's what's so powerful is that everyone has the power to prosper. So they have to get an idea, get a concept, and move on it, because you have to be the quarterback of your own wealth and your own health.
Yeah,
And
that's good.
If
That's
you
good.
have that dream, you just have to do it and go for it. And your family really should be supportive of that if they know how important it is
I
for
think
you.
so, yeah. Our next question comes from Robin in Tennessee. Wow, Tennessee, we're right
Hey,
here at home.
that's where
Robin
we're at.
in Tennessee. And she wants to know, boy, this is a good one here. She wants to know if husbands and wives should have separate bank accounts.
Oh my.
We're back to the financial issues,
Yeah.
you know. And I mean, if I can, put my 2 cents in here, I have a great financial relationship with my husband. We both work. We do have separate bank accounts, and then we have joint bank accounts, and we're very open and we communicate about our finances, which I think is really important. If you are married and you are wanting to hoard all of your money away from your partner, that is a red flag, in my opinion. I don't think that is the way that a relationship like that should be. What do you guys think, though?
Well, I think since we have Dr. Chitwood here, who's the #1 authority wealth coach in
Yeah,
America.
what do you think?
Yeah, what do
do
you think about it?
Well, I think there's pros and cons. And here's why. I've seen so many good, hardworking women who are trying to save and build up their bank account, and they have a husband that is not a good steward of that money. Buys what he wants to, when he wants to, does what he wants to, and he had access to the money. So I think there's a balance there, and I think we probably should look at the relationship between those two, okay?
Right. Yeah, absolutely. Last question is Pam from Oklahoma, and she says, why do people get upset when the pastor drives a nice car and lives in a nice house?
Wow. They don't get upset if some of these movie stars make $20 and $30 million a show, or these basketball players or football players make 20 or 30 million a year. So why does people get upset when the pastor drives up in a Mercedes or a nice car? What do you think?
Well, I think it's all because of suspicion that the pastor is doing something illegal to get the money. And then also, too, it has to do with religion. A lot of people think that pastors are supposed to be poor, and they think that they're supposed to be poor. But we don't believe that. But we teach, and you taught all around the world, that pastors need to have other streams of incomes. Just like if a pastor writes a best-selling book and it goes all over the world, that's another stream of income, so they don't have to depend just on the tithes and offerings from the church.
Always take care of your pastor and make sure he's blessed. Make sure he has all of his needs met, plus more, a lot more. Hey, this has been a great, great show. I've enjoyed having Dr. Cook with us again.
Yes, thank you, Dr. Cook.
Glad to be here.
Always a pleasure.
It's been an amazing show. You have been a great audience, and I want to thank you for joining us today on the Power to Prosper show. And on behalf of Dr. H. Michael Chitwood
and Ashley,
we'll see you on the next show, okay?
Thanks for watching The Power to Prosper. Contact us at vbntv.org or give us a call, 1-888-933-4673. And check us out on Facebook at facebook.com/vbnTVORG. And be sure to join us next time on The Power to Prosper.